to show you here the bearing real fast. This is once again for a 2001 Buick Lesabre with the 3.8 Series 2 front-wheel drive with ABS. This particular vehicle, I don't know if yours will apply, uses the metal clip to hold it on. That is a specific when you're ordering the bearing. I chose to go with the Timken variety. From what I've been told and seen on the web, Timken is like the Cadillac of wheel bearings. This is the other one here, or I'm sorry, the box for it, I should say. I did order two. I'm going to replace both front of them. I'm only going to film one side though, because it's the same procedure on both passenger and driver's side. The reason why I'm not going to film the other one is not only because it's the same procedure, but Amazon screwed up my order and shipped me the wrong bearing. So I got one was correct, but the second one was completely the wrong one. So I had to send that back, and I'm waiting until tomorrow to get the other one. But a little windy today, so bear with me with the quality of the video here. I'm going to do my best. Hopefully this helps somebody out that's, you know, working from home, that wants to get some basic procedures, steps by step on how to replace a wheel bearing on their 2001 Buick Lesabre. Hold tight and we'll continue on. Hey, what's going on YouTube? I am working on this 2001 Buick Lesabre here, and we're going to attempt to film today the front wheel hub bearing assembly. It's got the 3.8 Series 2 on it, and step one is obviously jack the vehicle up properly and support it with jack stands to make sure it's secure. It's pretty windy out here, so hopefully this video isn't completely atrocious, but you should get the idea at least across as far as the general principle. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So usually to do these, you really only need some basic hand tools for the most part to do this procedure. But I have air tools, so I'm going to cheat a little bit, but it does help if you can have air tools. Also, before you go to tackle this, sometimes it's not a bad idea to pop this decorative cover or hubcap off, whichever you may have. And when you do that, that'll give you the opportunity to crack this axle nut loose right here, because this axle nut can get pretty tight. And if you don't have the means of air tools to get it loose, you'll find that it would have been better to loosen this while the weight of the vehicle is still on here. So we'll go ahead and get that loose here in a minute. The first thing I'm going to do is just double check. So it looks like my axle nut's a 32 millimeter. Now yours may differ because I've replaced these axles on here. But I'm going to go ahead and start with the lug nuts, which is going to be a 19 millimeter. I just have to grab my air hose here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and crack this wheel off. Like I said, these are going to be 19 millimeter for these lug nuts. Crack them loose. Sorry for the wind noise. Probably gusts, my guess is our gusts of winds right now. Probably over 40-50 miles per hour. Maybe more. I always choose the perfect day to do this kind of stuff. Seems like every March in our area is always extremely windy. I'm going to take the wheel, I'm going to pop it up here, lay it down, and so the first thing we're going to do now is that we've exposed all this. I'm going to go ahead and crack the axle nut loose next. Probably not a bad idea to spray a little bit of your choice of penetrating fluid on it, just to, especially if yours is rusty. These aren't bad because I've recently, like I said, replaced these axles. I have a magnetic dish over here. This is the 32 millimeter. As you can see, that came loose. Now, in the event that this axle shaft didn't push through as easily as that did, you may have to leave the nut on it. Leave that screwed on and hit it with a hammer to get the axle if it's rusted. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn this wheel out, because we need to take the caliper off here to access it. Now, there's two different ways we can do this. We could leave everything together like it is and just take these back here. There's two fasteners that hold the entire bracket to the knuckle, or I can take the caliper off first. I did recently replace these brakes, so I'm going to attempt to see if I can just carefully remove the entire bracket. It'll just make life a little easier, so I'm just doing this to kind of see if I can compress the piston a little bit, make it looser. Okay. I don't know what size those are, so we're going to find out together here. Something tells me 15, but they could be larger. Let's get in here and take a look. I think 15 was right. I got a 16 on there. It was too big, so we're going to go with a 15. And probably you're going to need a breaker bar of some fashion to get that loose, because I'm sure they're pretty tight. So there's these two here, which I believe are also 15. That's what holds just the caliper to the bracket. We're going to just take the whole bracket off and do this. So I'm going to go back here, crack them loose. Go ahead and stand up, crack them loose. And I just broke my socket. Big surprise. Well, we'll have to come back in a minute and get another socket. Alright, we're going to try that again. Now that I broke the, actually it was a socket adapter that broke. We'll just use a regular impacting socket on there. A little bit stronger. There we go, that's better. Crack them loose. There's another one in here, up top. Just a little bit more challenging to get to because of the fender. Probably easier to get to if you had the caliper off, because the back of the caliper is getting in the way. Alright. Alright, so we're going to cheat a little bit just for speed up process here. Got my air ratchet on there. I'll throw an extension too, it might make it easier to get to it. Alright, let's cheat a little bit. Speed this up. That in a dish. Now this bottom, you want to make sure you're holding on to this because it might fall. Get in there. There we go. That aside. Now we, in a perfect world, should be able to grab this whole assembly. Let me find my hook that I laid down here. I got one of these little caliper hooks. Hopefully everything just comes neatly together and doesn't make a colossal mess. Find a place up here to hang it. Out of the road. We'll just hang it from the spring. That'll keep out of the way. So take off the rotor. If you're reusing it, be gentle with it. Set it aside. Now we got our hub here, our wheel bearing hub assembly. The suspect is bad. That's pushing out nice. Like I said, yours may not cooperate like this. This is because I've changed these. So now we gotta go bring in for an up close. So this is the hub assembly, and it bolts. They're like a Christmas tree. There's one up top, Christmas tree triangle. One up top. There's one, you can't see, so much sunlight here, and if you come around the other side here, there's one down here that's sticking through. So 1, 2, 3, so like a triangle. You have to go from the back side to get to them, and you have to make sure this is pushed in, the axle's pushed in far enough so you can get a socket extension here and crack them loose. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So if you're wondering, you can have a better idea here. Apologize here, it's just so ridiculously shadowed right now. There we go. Alright, now I can't remember what size they are because it's been a while. Something tells me we might be on the 13 size, which is what we're going to go for next. Let's see, we're going to try 13. I believe that's what these are. Yes, 13. Okay. So we're going to try to crack them loose with the socket wrench first. Actually, you know what? I might be able to do them with the air ratchet. I don't think they're going to be too tight, so I got to get up in your grill for a minute here. See if it'll crack loose with the air ratchet. Let's try this again. Maybe they aren't 13s. Feels kind of loose on there. I doubt they're 12s. I mean, that wouldn't even make sense. Highly doubt they're 12. Yeah, they're definitely 13s. I don't know why that felt so loose on there. All right, we're going to try something a little different here. See what we can come up here with. Some kind of concoction here. We use the breaker bar because I feel like they're going to be a little bit on the snug side. All right, let's get in here. Try to crack these loose. Okay, good. There's one at the bottom here. And we're going to go top. This one here's at the top of the triangle. Make sure it's on there good. You don't want to slip off. You'll round these. If you round them, you'll be crying. That's loose. Also helps to spray them from behind too. Gives you that ability to get them cracked loose from behind. I'm going to turn the wheel the other way real quick here. So hopefully that'll give me access to that one now. Alright, let's see if I can get into that one. Just down at the bottom here. Sure I'm on good. I am. Okay, so the goal basically there was to get it cracked loose. Now I can use the air ratchet to go the rest of the way. Alright, set that aside. Alright, now we can go ahead and turn our wheel back out. This would be nice if you had help, you know. Unfortunately, that's the world I live in. I never really have any help with this stuff. Everybody wants to be out and around me when I'm doing it, but nobody wants to offer a helping hand. Alright, sorry. Now, before I take the top one out, I have to come over here and disconnect the ABS sensor. So as you see right here, there's a little clip here. So you got to kind of try to do this one-handed here. Because this backing shield here, there's a back plate behind here that holds the harness for the ABS that gets mounted in between the knuckle and the bearing here. So it goes in between there. I'm going to try to disconnect that one-handed. As you can see, there's the wire. Pull that off of there. And now that's free. We'll just make sure this is up and kind of out of the way so I don't damage it. And then that's free. So now I can put you back down. Like so. Hopefully you can see. I'm going to try to go into that top one. See if I can still get in there with the wheel not turned. That should come right out now. It does. There's the bolt. These are 13s. Now this might just come right off because like I said, I recently had a lot of this apart to do axles within last year. So you want to remember the orientation of the way this bracket goes here because that's going to be important when you put this back together. So pull that off. So yeah, this bearing, it spins way too freely and has a lot of noise. So it's definitely bad. Put that aside. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a little bit of brake cleaner here. Just kind of spray this and clean it up a little bit here. I'm going to shield you a little bit. Last time I made one of these videos, I got the it's all covered with the camera lens, all covered with the spray, and it made a mess. Alright, now, if you live in the Rust Belt that I live in, I'm going to clean this backing plate up a little bit too. I'm just going to hit it with the plate, get some of the gunk off. It's not really vital, but might as well put it back together clean, right? Makes sense to me. Set that aside. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I have, once again, you can use like a wire brush to do this. But I have the luxury of having a one of these angle grinders here. I'm just going to clean the faces up. Now you got to be careful because you don't want to take too much material off because this is just aluminum. Some places you probably don't even have to do this, but Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Rust Belt, you got to, so. probably good enough, but like I said, you don't want to take too much off, just enough to get that cleaned up. Beautiful. Now, get the cheek poker out here, whatever I did with it. This is a little dangerous, so try this out. See how this is going to work. Try to get that axle to cooperate out of the way. Just cleaning some of the corrosion. Better already. Alright. I don't have to go too crazy. Make sure this is clean. Perfect. That looks much better. That out of the road. Spray it down one more time. Make sure it's nice and clean. Paper towels around here, shop towels. Clean this up a little bit. Taking off the splines, make sure there's no dirt or any debris on the splines because you want them to be nice and clean. Okay. So now, check this, make sure this plate's clean. The reason why I go a little above and beyond, most repair shops probably just slam this on there and move on with life, but A, it's my personal vehicle, and B, you also have to realize too that being this is a common issue with these cars, or any front-wheel drive cars, but a lot of times with GM I see this a lot. You want to make sure you're prepping yourself so next time when you go to do this repair, keyword next time, you'll have a good start. So before I go any further, I got to go get the new wheel bearing, which is in the garage, so hold tight. Okay, so I got the other wheel bearing. Now, you have to fish this ABS wire here in through here, and I like to position it on the, so this is the driver 4 hand right here where my hand is, so I like to position it up here at the top right side of the thing there. So let me grab some, I like to put some generic stuff on here. This is the Blaster anti-corrosion stuff. You can also use fluid film. This is kind of like the generic of it. I can give it a quick little spritz here. Kind of go up and around. And it might seem like a lot, but like I said, that's going to keep you from having to worry about this not wanting to come back off again when you go to do this again. When you go to do this again. Alright, so I put the top bolt in like that. That helps get me lined up, and then like I said, I'm going to fish this through here around the CD axle best I can. It's where it gets a little tricky and kind of pick up on the axle here, and you want to start it in the splines, and then now you want to try to start screwing this in there, which is easier said than done with one hand. Okay. Give it a little WD-40 in those threads in there. Alright, there, that made a world of difference. So once you get it started hand tight, I like to start with the top one. It kind of holds everything in place for you. You always want to check to make sure your wire's not pinched or anything. It's good. So got that in place. Now we're going to go ahead and start with the next one here. I'm going to put a little bit of spritz there in the threads of where the bolts go through from behind. That I don't know if that's recommended or not, but I do it because it helps to get them started. For all I know, you're probably supposed to use Loctite. This will work. So all while keeping that plate crooked. Now there are these little tabs that you may not be able to see. These little tabs here. You want to keep them positioned like that because you want everything to be straight. And these bearings here, these Timkins, I can already tell you the quality is through the roof because I was able to start these bolts and almost run them almost the whole way in by hand, which is a huge indication of quality in machining, you know. I've done a lot of wheel bearings. I mean, I'm probably saying maybe 100 to 150. I can't tell you for sure, but I know it's at well over 100 wheel bearings I've done. And I've never had them be able to screw in there that easily. So that actually pulled it nice too. All right, so now I'm gonna switch back over to my air ratchet. With my 13, put it on Tighten. Now I'm gonna crank these down. Now you want to look up the torquing specs because these do require obviously to be torqued to proper factory specs. I go to Good and Tight. Never had a problem, but they do have a torque, so it helps keep from cracking the aluminum bearing and also helps keep the bearing from getting ruined because if you over tighten them you can actually ruin the bearings too and wear them out prematurely. So I'm going to get on there. This will just get them the preliminary tightness down, and then I can go back in with the actual breaker bar and tighten them back down with the breaker. Let's see if I can get to this one here. Let me get that wire. Gotta be careful not to damage your wire loom here. This one you can't really see. If I want it, what's happening here? Alright, so that's tight. So now I can switch back over. That I know everything's lined up tight the way it should be. I can switch back over now to my breaker bar, whatever I did with it, so I can put a little bit of back into it to tighten it. Here it is. Grab my 13 here. Whatever I did with it, I don't know. Oh, here it is. Sorry guys, pardon my reach. Just need to hop in here. Alright. See if I can get in there without an extension first. This on Tighten. Like I said, these do have a torque, but I go to what I think feels right. Now I definitely need the extension. Okay, there we go. Got to get up in your view here. All I'm doing is tightening this down here. Alright, come on, get on there. Okay. Like I said, you don't want it too tight because you don't want to break them, but you don't want your wheel coming off either. Okay, that one just feels good. Try to get to this top one from this side. A little hard to get in there. Probably should have put that caliper in a better place, but you know, hindsight, I guess, right? I try a different tool here. I try to just tighten it with the regular 1/2 inch socket wrench here. Might be able to get in there a little better. There we go. That's much better. Now I can get in here. Okay. Let's go to this one here. It's a pain in the butt one to get to. Ouch. Rock under the blanket there. Alright. Okay. I'm gonna work on these first. Hold on one second. I'm going to turn the wheel this way for a second so I can get to them better so you can see better too. Okay, so now you can probably see a little better, and I can actually get in here with the bigger breaker there. Alright, so now okay, that's good and tight. Good. turn out the wheel the other way. Should give me the access I need to get to this back one here. It'd be better if it wasn't so windy. Get in here. This one's a little trickier. Like I said, I can't even really film this one. I can hardly see this one. I'm comfortable with that. Not going to get any tighter than that for now, just because of what I'm dealing with here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop you and reposition you so you can see what I'm doing over here. Alright, we're looking at the other side now. I'm going to try to show you here. There's this clip here, and what you got to do is slide this clip over this part here, like that. I think it should go on a little further than that. There we go. So it locks in, and then you can make sure your wire is nice and clean here where you're plugging this in. Oops, lost my booty. Try that again. Alright, plug that in there. I'm going to go ahead and, I think it goes this way. No, that way. Alright, so that is locked and loaded. So all these want to go in behind here where the wire runs down, and make sure when you run in there, make sure it's not riding on the CV axle, because if it is, it's going to just tear the wire right up, because the axle spins inside here and it's going to tear this to pieces. So make sure you check that, obviously. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and straighten the wheel back out again, and then once I have the wheel straightened out, it's also a good time too to get in here and, you know, grease all your grease zerks and everything, your ball joints if they are serviceable. I don't think the factory ones are, but the aftermarket ones that are on here are, so it's a good idea to grease everything that's greasable. And then we're going to straighten the wheel back out. Everything's plugged in, everything's bolted down. Like I said, look up your factory torque specs on that. I went to what made me feel good and go from there. Be right back, guys. Alright, got the sit back down here with you, get nice and cozy. Alright, got everything tightened down. Like I said, got the everything, I did that spray of that anti-corrosion back there. Put a little bit anti-corrosion stuff in there, and we're going to put that axle nut back on now. There's also a torque for this. Couldn't tell you what it is. They said look it up. My videos are, like I said, they're not the greatest. I just kind of want to give you some guidance, you know, what to do. Obviously, if you're a mechanic, you're not watching my homemade videos here, so. Alright, so that's started. Got my 32 here. We're going to go ahead and tighten that down. Noise alert. That's all the tighter I want to go. 3 or 4 ugga-duggas. I'm going to wipe my boot off a little bit here. Make sure it's nice and clean. Axle's in, that's good. ABS is plugged in. I'll get in here with my peepers and make sure that nothing here is rubbing the axle. So now, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my, lay this out here like this, sit it on it. I'm going to clean up my rotor down here on the ground with some brake clean, because I have been touching up all over it here with my hands, so that there's no grease, because you don't want any hot spots here. You also want to make sure too, a lot of people leave some of this important steps out when they're doing this stuff because they just don't care. You want to make sure when you're looking inside your head of your rotor here that you don't have any rust. These are treated coated rotors. So they are pre-painted with a special paint from the factory so they don't rust as quickly. but I like to make sure there's no rust or buildup on there. Take like a sander to it and clean it if it is, if you're reusing your rotors, because you don't want this. You don't want your rotor to be sitting on this axle crooked, or on the hub crooked, because of some rust buildup in there, or rust jacking. Because what you'll run into then is you'll get like a brake wobble, or you just want it to be flush. I mean, is what it comes down to. So, plus you don't want to rust your beautiful new bearing either. Because I mean, if you look, it is a nice new shiny bearing. So now, next part I'm going to do, once again, a lot of this stuff I'm doing is kind of optional, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to just spray the hat of this hub here. See if you get back in view here. I'm going to just go ahead and spray this again. Give it a nice coat in there. Like I said, probably overkill. I get a lot of flack for doing that. I don't know why. I mean, it's going to prevent rust. I mean, why not, you know? And it doesn't really hurt anything, so. Alright, so now we're going to put that on there like so. I'm going to see if this lug nut will screw on backwards to hold that in place. So now, back you guys up a little bit. Actually, I'm going to switch sides. I'm going to put you on the other side, so hold tight. Alright, just make sure you guys are recording, and you are. Move you in a little bit there. We're going to take and put a little more brake clean on the out half, because I didn't do the other side of the rotor here. How did I get all this grease everywhere? Amazing. Alright. I want to make sure this rotor doesn't have any grease on it. Get hot spots, because these are fairly new rotors. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to reinstall our brake caliper. So I got the wheel out so I can get to it a little better. Bolts are ready. Try to get this down. It's a little bit on the heavy side. Probably knocked my pads all over the place there. Alright, now you don't want to kink your hose. You want to make sure your hose, your brake hose, I don't know if it's even in the film view or not. There we go. They're beautiful. Alright, I'm going to get back in here. Try to get this started. Let's see if I can get it in. First try. That very rarely happens. Do the bottom one down here. Oh yeah, I have somewhere. There we go. Run them down to 15, wherever that took off to. Like everything else around here disappears. Alright, to the top ones. Grab my 15 and my breaker bar again. See if I can get it to sneak in there and tighten them down. You want these tight too, because obviously it holds your brakes on. It's tight enough for that. Let's get to the bottom one here and see what I'm doing here. Okay. Alright. Tight enough. Alright, I always like to check these too. Those are tight. Might as well you're in here. Now, if I hadn't just done these brakes not long ago, I would, if they weren't due to be changed yet, I would probably still go in and clean this up, make sure the hardware's clean, pads are seated good. I just did all that, so I know they're good. I know the sliders are good and everything's good, just because I just did these like a few months ago. So, you know, check your hoses. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. Definitely look up the torquing specs. You want to make sure everything's tight to proper specs, especially this axle nut here, and the bolts that go through, like the triangle, two in the bottom, one in the top to hold the bearing in, and make sure those are good and tight to factory specs. That's pretty much it. It's kind of a longer extended version because I'm working here on the ground in the driveway, but gives you the general idea of how to change your front wheel hub assembly on your 2001 Buick, gotta get the Buick symbol in there, right? Buick Lesabre, and obviously take a lug nut off here that I used to hold the rotor on. Put your wheel back on, tighten your lug nuts down to factory specs, and always pump up your brakes too. Even if we didn't actually do anything with the brakes per se, just pump up the brakes before you start moving or put it in gear, because you'll regret it if you were doing anything as far as compressing the piston. Even a hair of compressing that piston in from me yanking on this is enough to cause a gap in the caliper, and then when you go to step on a brake, the pedal goes to the floor and you have no brakes. So always pump these up, and you know, take it for a ride. Make sure there's if you did have an ABS light, because of the ABS sensor going bad in here, you'll probably need to clear it. I don't know, it may go away on its own, but ultimately it's probably gonna have some stored codes in there, so you'll need some kind of computer or a buddy. You know, you can go to their house or to a friend or even a garage and have them clear the ABS codes if you were getting an ABS light. We weren't getting an ABS light. This bearing was just mechanically shot, which oddly enough, it lasted a long time. It's a DriveWorks bearing from Advance, and I'm actually surprised it lasted over 3 years, which is to me shocking, because usually any DriveWorks crap from Advance usually doesn't last. So hopefully the Timken bearing's better. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I included the a picture of the box and the part number that you'll need. So that's it. I hope this helps somebody out. I thank you for your support and watching my videos. You know, my goal here is to help some people out that don't know how to do this stuff. And if you have any questions, you know, throw it down here in the comments, and you know, please subscribe. We appreciate your watching. Thank you much, guys, and have a great day. I'm gonna go ahead and get this wheel back on and go for a toot.